Morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning, guys. Yes. Okay. Switch on your videos. So shall I? Okay. Okay, guys. Come on. Switch on your videos, guys. Let's embrace this amazing morning. Did you all end up doing all the questions of value of supply, my dear friends? Fantastic. Good morning, Tanishka. Good morning, Nana. Good morning, Nikita. Kemanach. Apurupa. Ardham Cheskunara. That is your Telugu or Tamil? Telugu. Is this Telugu by any chance? Ardham Cheskunara? Yes? No? Sir, whatever you're saying, you only know, sir. I don't know, sir. This is not Telugu. You tell me what is, how do you do? What do you say that in Telugu? Apurupa.
Yes, sir.
What do you say? How do you do in Telugu?
ఎలా చేస్తున్నారు ఎలా ఉన్నారు
Sorry?
ఎలా చేస్తున్నారు ఎలా ఉన్నారు
ఎలా ఉన్నారు బాగున్నారు ఎలా ఉన్నారు right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And the answer is బాగున్నారు right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. అర్థం చేసుకున్నారా हाँ वही बोलो आता तो है मेरे को okay guys, we did value of supply yesterday's morning. Extremely important chapter, forms basis of most of the questions, especially when it's an 8 marker or a 6 marker question, right? Let me know if you have any doubts. Please आप मुझे क्या मैसेज ही कर दीजिएगा व्हाट्सएप पे, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, ठीक है? And at the same time, just rush through the past year papers, at least the last 3 or 4 attempt papers. 4 attempt is an ideal thing. Make sure that you just go through them so that you can keep getting confidence, right? अगर कोई question है तो ठीक है, if there is a question out there then it's fine. If there is no question then just ignore it and just go ahead, because this practice will make sure, okay, that your efforts are in alignment with what is actually asked in the exam. Because once you start solving things that are asked in the exam, you will start feeling that damn, this is easy, exams are not that difficult. Maybe the way we studied the last time was not the right way, and that's fine. Mistakes happen. And I'll tell you one thing, that I just had an amazing conversation yesterday with a co-faculty. He also runs a YouTube channel, and he also happens to be a taxation faculty, but he teaches direct tax. So what happened is he just told me that congratulations sir on 1000 subscribers. I'm like, thank you. And then he's like, so this is genuinely some really fast growth that I've ever seen in my life, because I remember when I crossed my 1000 subscriber, it was months. I had possibly taken 6 months to do that, right? And since he was my friend, I remember this very vividly, and I don't know is this correlation correct or not, but I would still like to share that he passed his CA final in the very first attempt, because he was my college colleague, so I know him very well. We both were in NM, and he passed his CA final in the very first attempt. He then did a job in Big Four, and then later he took up teaching, and I directly took up teaching, but I did not pass in the first attempt. कितने अटेम्प्ट में पास हुआ हूं मैं, I'll definitely tell you later. That's an interesting story by its own. But I'll tell you that एग्जाम तो देनी पड़ेगी भाई. You will have to give exams and you will fail sometimes. But I can definitely tell you that if you land up failing here, right, it's much safer, because you are at a tender age and you've experienced that. And I can assure you that in life, you might not have to give as many exams as others will have to. So giving exam is mandatory. is mandatory. Failing is mandatory. The earlier it is, the better it is for you. And I was just feeling grateful that I'm glad I failed in my CA final exam so that I didn't have to see a struggle in growing my subscriber base, which is actually the business, right? Which actually matters the most than anything else. You know, my dad used to tell me that, Karan, it's good that you are giving exams which are conducted by ICAI, because I didn't give one. You know, he's not even past his 10th standard, and he said when you don't give exams in school or college, life takes a lot of your exams. So it's better that you give exam here rather than that, because in that the stakes are high and you cannot afford to fail, right? So theek. So I will take that as a consolation, and I will also tell you the same, that it's fine, okay? But don't get comfortable with it, and make sure that we all pass in the next attempt, because understand that you pass, I pass. Make sense? Yes. एक कहावत है हिंदी में कि जब एक स्टूडेंट उत्तीर्ण होता है तब उसके साथ साथ उसका शिक्षक भी उत्तीर्ण होता है, राइट? I hope you all understand what उत्तीर्ण is. उत्तीर्ण is passing, right? ठीक है, तो बस दोस्तों अर्जुन के बिना द्रोणाचार्य नहीं है, एंड बिना द्रोणाचार्य अर्जुन नहीं है, राइट? बोथ को एग्जिस्ट टुगेदर. फेयर. ओके, फटाफट से let's just go guys, and let me just help you with the vivas. Tell me फटाफट से. Okay, we'll start with Nikita. Wrong answer, cholbena Nikita. Wrong answer, cholbena. Okay. So Nikita, tell me one thing. That what has happened is that I am an insurance company and you are a policy holder, and you have paid premium since the last 4 or 5 years and haven't claimed the coverage amount that I owe you, because you are hale and hearty, right? You have not had to go to any hospital, and which is why I give you a no claim bonus, right? So the premium was 20,000 and no claim bonus was 3,000. Now tell me one thing, value of supply will be judged at what amount?
17,000.
Correct. Okay, because that discount will be allowed to you under which section?
15.3.
Correct. Next, Naina, fatavat se tell me one thing. For example, if I am charging you, so I am selling you Indian hemp, that is worth rupees 10 lakhs, and on that I charge you state excise duty of 2 lakhs. What is the value of supply?
Sorry sir, can you repeat the question?
Okay, I am charging you beta. Okay, I am selling you Indian hemp, bhang. Okay, and for that I am also charging you state excise duty, 10 lakhs, 2 lakhs. How much value of supply? नहीं सुनाई दिया क्या?
हाँ सुनाई दिया. I'm just thinking.
Indian hemp 10 lakhs, state excise duty 2 lakhs. Value of supply 10 lakhs, 2 lakhs or 12 lakhs?
Yes.
What? Yes, what?
No, 12 lakhs, right?
Now you have to also give me a bifurcation. How did that 12 lakh come? 10 lakh is because of which section?
10 lakh is because of section 15 clause 1. That is
Subsection 1 है वो. Subsection 1.
Subsection.
And second, 2 lakhs state excise duties because of?
That is because of section 15 2A.
2A. Perfect. Bala, fatavat se. Bala. Come on.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Bala, tell me, fatavat se. What is 15 to be? It's a completely like a nude question. Tell me.
Yes, sir. When
Remember.
liability to be paid by the supplier, but it has been incurred by the recipient on behalf of the supplier.
Absolutely perfect. Yes. Drishti, tell me, for example, if I am HUL, you are DMart, okay, and I have taken the responsibility of arranging transportation. I am charging you 1 lakh plus transportation charges 1,000. Okay, what will be the value of supply?
1 lakh.
How much?
1 lakh.
1 lakh.
Yeah.
I charged you selling price 1 lakh and
Sorry. Yeah.
transportation 1000.
1 lakh 1,000.
So 1 lakh is because of which section?
15 subsection 1
And
1,000.
Transportation
Yeah.
15.
15 subsection 2C.
15 subsection 2 clause C. Perfect. Okay. And let's say transportation charges ka rate is 5% and goods ka rate is 12%. What will be the rate on 1 lakh 1000?
5%.
12 or 5? 12 माने किसका रेट लगेगा वो बता दो. गुड्स का रेट लगेगा या सर्विस का?
Goods or service का ट्रांसपोर्टेशन का.
क्यों?
ट्रांसपोर्ट हो रहा है ना सर.
If I have given you 1 lakh worth of goods which are subject to 12% and service transportation service, okay, is accompanied by that 1000, so which is the main supply out here?
Goods का मेन सप्लाई.
Correct. तो goods का rate लगेगा. It's a classic case of composite supply which are naturally bundled. Okay. Next, Apurupa, फटाफट से. Tell me one thing. That Apurupa, forget about that. Okay. Okay. Let's directly go here. कहाँ है भाई? Okay, fantastic. Let's do this. Apurupa, go ahead. This is a good question coming your way. Tell me the value of supply here. And I would request everyone to attempt it. Everyone, especially on the YouTube. Yes, everyone. Sneha, Badurul, Kesarla, everyone. And all the other 14, I want everyone to just keep replying, guys. On YouTube, I want you to reply so that I can interact with you guys. I can ask you. Be as interactive as Badurul, Sneha and Kesarla. Yes, come on, Apurupa. Others, have you all got the answers? Okay, let me check.
Sir, is it 31,500?
You just tell me what will happen to that 600. 600. Will it be exempt or taxable?
No, sir, as it was recovered from customer for delayed payment.
Sir, it will be taxable, sir.
अरे रुक जा भाई.
15 to C.
So 15 2D because higher purchase.
15 to D,
That's
sorry.
why.
Apurupa, it will be taxable as per 15(2)(d). Classic example of that chroma wala thing, if you remember. Right? The chroma wala thing where I had told you that I am chroma and you are a consumer. I am selling TV to you for let's say 40,000. But then you said no, I can't afford it. Then I quoted you 44,000, but you will pay me in 4 installments. So you are paying me consideration in installments, and that consideration का जो EMI है, that was delayed, right? So that is a classic case of interest late fee penalty on delayed payment of consideration, and which is why that 600 will be subject to GST, as it will be included in the value of supply under section 15(2)(d). Apurupa, did you get it?
I have it down.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Tanishka, are you clear on that?
If it is a case number, I understood both the cases, but then in the question I gave the right answer, but then I'm little bit confused whether case 1 will apply or case 2. So how do I identify? Like if this question is regarding case 2, how would the question appear?
So the question would have possibly be understand the common thing, the uncommon thing in both of them is that in one case the interaction is with Chroma, where Chroma is selling goods, and the other interaction is with Axis Bank. So in one case I'm selling you goods on hire purchase, जिसका amount I'm taking from you in installments. And in second case, you are dealing with a financial institution where the opposite person has not given you goods. It has given you money. So in one case, in the case of Chroma, you are repaying consideration. In case of Axis Bank, you are repaying loan. Yes. And when loan is accompanied with interest, that interest is always exempt. And the late fee on delayed payment of EMI is also exempt. Okay, but when I sell goods to you and you pay me consideration in installments, you have paid me that installment of consideration in delay, and which is why it is a part of consideration, because I'm selling you goods, I'm not giving you money. So in this case, it would have been a dealer in air condition supplies each unit. It would have been Axis Bank giving loan to T Limited. Or whatever, like to the recipient, basically whoever is taking the loan.
So the catch is only about whether it is goods.
Loan or goods or service for that matter, any supply.
Okay, sir.
Perfect. So it's a CA final sum, 2 marks, only 2 marks, but if it is asked to you, definitely it will be 4 marks, and it can easily be asked, mind you. Understand, the 50% of CA final is exactly the way it is in inter CA. So you do good inter CA, you do good in final CA. So make sure that you don't screw up with your GST basics just because it is for 40 marks, because then you will appear it for 100 marks. तो अभी नहीं, अभी बच जाओगे तो आगे पकड़े जाओगे. So make sure that you keep the basics very well, and this can very well be asked in the exam. And I just want that you should not be confused at the time of exam, which is why I have given this sum here itself, so that you are absolutely clear as to how can we deal with it, right? Classic sum, the amendment is still not asked. Okay, it was not an amendment, it was a circular. So it is still not asked, it can be asked easily. Okay, fantastic. Next, fatavat se Mithal, tell me, for example, if I am selling notebooks, right, and the selling price of that was 100 rupees, and then I got subsidy, right, from Adani Limited of 10 crores to set up a factory, and after that also my selling price is 100 rupees. So how does that subsidy play?
The subsidy was ignored because it is not given by the government, so it will be ignored as per section 15 clause 2 clause 15 subsection 2 clause E.
Correct. The section you've said it correctly, but the reason is not correct. Where did you think, guys? कहाँ होगा ये दिक्कत?
Directly linked to price. It's not
Correct.
directly linked to price.
Mithal, it is not directly linked to price. Understand that, because my price is still the same. Okay, it was 100 rupees before, and after subsidy, if also it's 100 rupees, understand that transaction value is unchanged. So how does it matter? Because government was getting the same tax before also, after also. The government does not absolutely care about that subsidy. Government cares only when subsidy leads to reduction in price. So that reduction is allowed if that 100 rupees cat becomes 50 rupees. That reduction is allowed if that subsidy is given by CG or SG. But that reduction is not allowed if it is given by other than CG and SG. We will add it back. Okay. In that, please make sure that you focus on whether it's included in the price or not included in the price, because it's very important how you read the question, right? Fair enough. And the last was, my dear friends, section 15 subsection 3, A and B. Okay, very important. A was before supply or at the time of supply wala discount, which should be recorded in the invoice, very important. And B was basically very simple. B was basically to do with discount which is agreed at the time of supply, but it is allowed after supply, and recipient reverses is ITC. Simple. Okay. One small amendment here was 15(2)(e) was that whenever a transaction happens where you make payment from Beam UPI or through RuPay cards to any merchant for that matter, what happens is your bank is, for example, मैंने Axis Bank से वो किया, okay, so CG has to pay certain amount to Axis Bank. That amount that it is paid to Axis Bank is considered as a subsidy, okay, and which is why, since it is a subsidy given by CG or SG, my dear friends, simple, it will not be included in the value of supply. Okay, that's it. I feel we have done and covered every part of it. Just remember one thing Varshini, I would like to ask you is, Varshini, tell me, when it comes to refund, deposit. So I am a landlord, you are a tenant, and I am collecting deposit from you, but I will return it back to you, okay, after 3 months or 4 months, or after I am done with the supply. Will that deposit be considered as a part of consideration? Nice, Tanishka.
Refundable deposit will not form a part of.
Correct. And what if it is added? What if it is forfeited?
Forfeited deposit will
Correct. Perfect. Okay. Tanishka, tell me, as per 15(1), we describe transaction value. What are the two conditions of transaction value? In which circumstance will it be accepted?
Recipient
Should be.
recipient is not related.
Correct. And price is a.
Price is the sole consideration.
Absolutely. That's perfect. That's perfect. Okay. Done. We basically revise our value of supply. Okay. Keep this as a habit, my dear friends. Every time you read something yesterday, okay, take that up the next day so that you can revise it. Right? It might take a lot of time, but take that time, because the power of your recollection will be extremely higher the next time you read it. Right? Vis-a-vis, you read it today and then you revise it 10 days later. No. Exactly, make sure that you revise it within 24 hours. And the power of your recollection will just hit the roof. Okay? Do that and keep that as a habit. Okay? Fantastic. Done. Okay, guys. Now, fantastic. We are done with value of supply. Now, let's go ahead and do time of supply. Right? Time of supply, extremely easy chapter. But if it is asked, definitely it's asked for 3 or 4 marks. Let's do it. Let's hit it. Okay. Now understand one thing. What is time of supply? Extremely important. Okay. Extremely important. Nisha, Deepak, Praga, Amir. Okay. Amir, Varshini. Okay. Lovely names. Ratika, Dilip, Jain. Please switch on your videos. Would love to see you guys. Yeah. Otherwise, you will have to attend through YouTube. Okay, and there's just one time I will say, I will not repeat myself, guys. Okay. Done. Time of supply. Understand one thing, that to determine tax liability, you need 2 things. Value rate. Do you have value? Yes, because you just studied value of supply in section 15. Second, now, do you need to have a rate? Yes. How do you get that? Very simple. Understand that when we are doing time of supply, why are we doing it? The main objective of doing this is, my dear friends, to find rate of tax. Right? Sir, how can we find a rate of tax because of time of supply, sir? Simple. I will tell you, my dear friends. Listen. For example, if I am supplying goods to the recipient, correct? Goods, not service. I am supplying goods to the recipient. Now understand one thing. When it comes to goods, okay, first the recipient will place an order with me. Then I will remove that from my factory. Then it will get delivered to the recipient. I will raise an invoice thereafter, and finally I will get the payment. Is that very clear, my dear friends? Okay. So do you understand the stage of events that are unfolding, okay, every time? Now, which is that time? Which is that time when I can say I have supplied goods? When can I say that I have done the crime of supplying goods? Understand that the taxable event is supply. That's extremely important to understand. And sale of goods is supply of goods. We will understand that in section 7 when we do it. But that keeping aside, it is a supply, yes, but when is that supply? Is that supply when the goods were ordered, when it was removed, when delivered, when invoiced, when the payment was made? When? Because all events are equally important. All events are equally important, guys. Now, which event should I select as the date and conclude that this is the day when I have supplied goods, period? Sir, but tell me, why is it important to figure out the time of supply? Because it is very important, because I should be able to, pick up a date and see that this is the day I have done the crime. Understand? Because if I do that, okay, if I say, for example, removal is the date when you have done the crime. Let's say, for example, this is 1/4, right? This is 2/4. So I will select 2/4 as the date when I have supplied goods. That is my time of supply, right? Then understand the consequence of that will be that if I consider this as the time of supply, the consequence of that will be that the very next month I am supposed to pay tax to the government, because that happens to be my due date. Got it? So it's very important for me to pick up a date. And once I decide a date, 20th of the next month. This is not because I like any 20th. This is not because I got married on 20th. No, better. Or my birthday is on 20th. No. Because on that day we file GSTR 3B, and that is a date that government has told us that this should be the payment of tax date. Right? So whenever is the time of supply, that we deduce as per different situations and sections. You get one, fair enough. The very next 20th of the month is the due date of payment of tax. Right? And we need to affix this due date, because if we don't affix this due date, understand, the supplier will pay tax as per his whims and fancies. And if that supplier happens to be from a Gujarati, Marwadi, Sindhi community, you understand, my dear friends, that he's supplying today, he will pay tax after 100 years. You get it? So it's very important to point out and tell him this is the date, this is the last date when you have to pay tax. And if you don't end up paying it, fair enough, I will charge you interest. I will charge you interest. So it's the way of telling the taxpayer this is the deadline, pay or else pay me interest. Okay? That's it. Got it? So this has to be very clear that why are we doing this chapter? This chapter is extremely important, friends, so that you can affix the responsibility of paying tax to the government, and you can affix a date. Ye date pe hi pay karna, this is the date when you have to pay, period. If you pay, good enough, you pay it interest free. But if you pay beyond this period, you will start paying tax with interest. Is that very clear? Is that very clear, Rathika? Praga? Okay. 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 That's it, my dear friends. Okay. So now understand that which law are we studying? GST. Which law are we studying? GST. Correct? Perfect. Now, so what are we studying first? GST में पहला क्या है? G stands for goods. S stands for service. Right? So always first we will do time of supply of section 12, that is time of supply with respect to goods, and then we will do section 13, which is time of supply with respect to service. Okay, fair enough. Okay. Now understand one thing, that when it comes to section 12, right, there is 12.2, 12.3, 12.4, 12.5, 12.6. okay, bolo 12.2, 12.3, 12.4, 12.5, 12.6. okay. Now understand one thing, what is 12.2, what is 12.3, what is 12.4, what is 12.5, what is 12.6? These are all situations, different situations, and in those different situations we have different outcomes in terms of time of supply. You just need to understand, okay, in this situation this is the time of supply, in this situation this is the time of supply. Simple. So whenever you read a question, you check which section does it fall in. Once you figure out that, simple, you remember that section and retrieve what is the time of supply. Okay. Now coming to 12 subsection 2, when is this applicable? In most of the cases, in 90% of the cases, 12.2 is only applicable in case of FCM, that is in case of forward charge mechanism. That is in case of forward charge mechanism, my dear friends. Okay. So what does that mean? That in this case supplier will pay the tax. Okay. Acha, I'll also tell you that there are also cases where in case of supply of goods, recipient pays tax. So RCM wale cases also applies to supplier of goods. But understand, you don't know that. Understand that you have done all the cases with respect to supplier of services. I don't know if you figured out that or not. Every instance that we have done is of service only. GTA, service, security, DSA, recovery, insurance, everyone is service only, my dear friends. No one is goods. No one. Okay. But there are 5 to 6 cases with respect to goods that exist, but that are not in your syllabus. That's it. Okay. So now, most of the cases, my dear friends, supplier will pay the tax. And in question, if you figure out that supplier pays the tax, period, you think of 12 subsection 2. Now, what does 12 subsection 2 say? Okay, 12 subsection 2 says that if supplier is supplying goods to the recipient where supplier is liable to pay the tax, then in that case, out of all of these instances, government has specifically said that they will focus only on 2. One is date of issue of invoice or last date to issue invoice, whichever is earlier. Okay, whichever is earlier. ठीक है? So either the actual date of issue of invoice, that is this is the actual date, by the way, and this is the last date, right? The last date where you should have been issuing the invoice, right? So sir, what happens if we issue the invoice after that date? It is accompanied with penalty, nothing else. Nothing to do with the validity of your transaction. Your transaction is valid only, right? It is absolutely valid. It is not void. It does not become void, right? It is valid, but it's just that it's accompanied with penalty. Simple, right? Otherwise, what is the use of that deadline, right? Makes sense, right? There has to be a consequence. If there is a consequence of not opening your video, only then you will open your video, right? Otherwise, I will put you in the waiting room. बराबर बेटा? Yes. Okay, that's it. ठीक है. तो आज, my dear friends, very simple. What is the last day to issue invoice, my dear friends? Now that depends on 4 situations. First is movement of goods. Okay. Now what do you mean by movement of goods? Movement of goods means goods ka halan chalan. Okay, what do you mean by halan chalan? To and fro, to and fro, to and fro. So if I am in Mumbai, Bala is in Chennai. I sending goods from Mumbai to Chennai is movement. I sending goods from Mumbai to Pune is movement. And movement can be caused by anyone, supplier also, recipient also. I sending goods to him or he coming all the way from Chennai to Mumbai, and he collects goods and brings it back to Chennai. Doesn't matter. Movement is movement. Movement is movement. Okay. And whenever you see movement of goods in the question, especially if they've said that Mr. X from Mumbai has transported goods to Mr. Y all the way to Delhi, it is a classic example of movement. Otherwise, how is the goods traveled? Then there has to be movement, right? It is implied, right? Simple. So if you see that, just start searching with respect to two things. One is obviously the date of invoice ka date, and second, start searching date of removal. So date of removal of goods is the last date, right? And ideally, most of the cases, both these dates will be on the same date, right? So whatever is the last date, I will ideally issue on that date, right? Only for lazy people, okay, it might be a day later than that, right? So in case of movement of goods, obviously the last day will be date of removal. Acha, what in case of no movement of goods? What in case of no movement of goods? They say it's date of delivery. Acha, what do you mean by no movement of goods? Very simple. Let's say, for example, okay, if I am thinking of opening an offline class in Kolkata, okay, now I have figured out a place. Now what has happened is that there was already someone who was running a class there. I say, listen, I will buy the immovable property and I will also buy the furniture along with that immovable property. Okay, I will also buy the furniture with that immovable property, right? So the sale of immovable property does not attract GST, but the sale of furniture definitely will. The sale of AC, the sale of benches, the sale of fan, because that is movable in nature, those are goods. Now, do you realize that I will not bring that back to Mumbai? Because I want to run a class in Kolkata. I want to take offline lectures in Kolkata, and I find someone who's of a similar fraternity. He sells me the entire class. I don't have to do anything. Just go enter after paying him the money. Those are my premises. Those are my equipments. Do you realize that the goods did not move? They were there and they remained there. They were there and they remained there and they got sold there itself. Got it? So there is no movement. Am I bringing it to Mumbai? No. It was in Kolkata. It remained in Kolkata. It got sold. The place that it were. Initially, okay, the owner was Mr. X. Now it's me. Period. Is that very clear? It's a classic case of no movement. Acha. Also something like a D-Mart. Understand? Or your provisional store. Right? Where you just go and the goods are sold there in his shop itself. Simple. Over the counter sale bolte usko, over the counter sale, right? So numerous examples. Also one a classic example is that, for example, if I am renting goods to Nikita, let's say I have rented my car to Nikita, the car will go from Mumbai to Kolkata, but understand that's a service, that's renting service. But then what happens is she says that, sir, I really like the car, I would like to purchase the car. And I said, okay, this is the price. She agrees and I sell it off. Now, at that time of sale of goods, where is that car? Mumbai or Kolkata? Kolkata. So the goods were in Kolkata. The goods are also supposed to be with the owner who is in Kolkata. No movement of goods. Got it? So these are classic example of no movement of goods. And since in no movement of goods, there is no removal, government came up with a word called delivery. So when you deliver the goods, as in when you hand over the goods, okay, to the owner, that's the time you issue the invoice. Second, goods sent on approval for sale or return. Goods are sent on approval for sale or return. So I have basically sent goods to Naina. I have basically sent goods to Naina, my dear friends. Okay. And because of that, my dear friends, what happens is I have sent goods to Naina. Right? Simple. But I tell her that, listen, the jewelry that I'm giving it to you, it's on approval or sale or return basis. You can take all your time, okay, for 1 month, but before 1 month you will have to tell me whether you like it or not, whether it's approved or not. If you like it, you keep it, otherwise you return it back. Simple. Naina likes the jewelry and she tells in 15 days only that I like it. So I had removed it on 1/4. She confirms on 15/4. So when has the sale actually happened? 15/4. And that is exactly the date government says, okay, that one of the date will be the date of approval, or 6 months from the date of removal, whichever is earlier. Okay, 6 months from the date of removal, whichever is earlier. Okay, now all I want to tell you all is that, listen, in this case, okay, in this case, what is this 6 months date and what does it imply? Very simple. Government says that, listen, if you send goods on approval for sale or return, and if the opposite person does not approve it within 6 months, I will consider it deemed approval and I will ask you to raise invoice. So what happened was that in this transaction, people used to give approval period for 10 years. Do you understand? 10 years, what the hell? The time limit is anything and everything, 100 years. Do you realize that the goods have got exhausted? And the approval is still not received, so I will not claim it as sale and I will not charge GST because the taxable event hasn't triggered. So to make sure that this loophole is being taken care of, they said that, listen boss, approval period cannot be more than 6 months. So even if my approval period is 10 months, right, and she approves within 9 months, doesn't matter. Government says, listen, the approval wasn't within 6 months. Because 6 months, according to government, is more than enough for anyone to say yes or a no. How much time are you taking, bhai? What are you doing with goods? 6 months you are saying yes or no, you take time? Not cool. Not cool. This is more than a time some female would possibly say yes or no for a marriage. And you can't decide with respect to goods. I will decide. Within 6 months, fine. If not within 6 months, then the end of 6 months, I will consider it as what? Deemed supply. Got it? Yes. I will ask you to raise invoice. And tomorrow, let's say if he lines up returning it back and says no, then we will issue a credit note. Okay. And what is the concept of credit note? We will see when we reach there. Okay. Right now, just focus on 2 things. The last date here when it comes to goods sent on approval for sale or return is date of approval or 6 months from the date of removal, whichever is earlier. Okay. So you take this date. Okay. So आपका last date आ जाएगा. Your last date will arrive. And then compare it with date of issue of invoice. Is that very clear? Okay. Then compare both these dates and whatever date comes to you makes sense. Okay. So if I tell you that goods were removed on 1/4, delivered on 2/4, approval was received on 1/7 and payment was done on 1/8 and invoice was issued, okay, on 2/7, बताओ क्या होगा यहाँ पे? मुझे बताओ, give me all the dates. So you will compare 2 things, date of issue of invoice with last date. Now, do you have date of issue of invoice? Yes. What is that? 2/7.
7.
Now, last date में we will have 2 dates, date of approval or 6 months from the date of removal. Now, which is the date of approval wala date?
17.
17. And 6 months from the date of removal. Always remember, while you are counting in months, you will keep the day same, you will only change the month.
1.
So 1 4 1 10. Okay, 1 4 ka 110, 6 months. You add 4 plus 6. So 1 7 1 10, whichever is earlier, happens to be 1 7. So 1 7 you will compare it with 2 7, and thereby okay you will find okay 1 7 is the date which is your time of supply. ठीक है? Okay, so that's it. And the last is, my dear friends, okay, continuous supply of goods. What is continuous supply of goods? Very simple. Date of issuance of statement or date of payment, whichever is earlier. Date of issuance of statement or date of payment, whichever is earlier. So what happens in continuous supply of goods is that if I am, let's say, Ambuja Cement and you are Oberoi Builders, I am continuously supplying you cement for the next 12 months. Now what happens is, in such kind of a contract, you do not bill that person daily. You will bill that person on monthly basis, quarterly basis. So you will issue the statement of account on, let's say, monthly basis, right? So for the entire month of January, you will bill on, let's say, 5th of Feb. For entire month of Feb, you will bill on 5th of March. So that is your issuance of statement of accounts. Statement of accounts लिख देना यहाँ पे. Statement of accounts. Or when the payment is made, whichever is earlier. So whenever is the earlier event, that comes as your last date in case of continuous supply of goods. You compare that with date of issue of invoice, whichever is earlier. That's it, my dear friends. Okay. So here I want you all to help me with two things. First, okay, in 12.2, tell me which are the two events you will look out for. फटाफट से, date of issue of invoice or last date to issue invoice, whichever is earlier. Okay, now last date depends on 4 events. Okay, which are those 4 events? First is movement of goods. In that, what will be the last date?
Date of
Date of removal. No movement में क्या आएगा?
date of delivery.
Date of delivery. Sale और return में क्या आएगा?
Date of
Date of approval or
Date of approval or 6 months from the removal, whichever is earlier.
earlier.
And fourth,
date of issue.
continuous supply of goods, date of issuance of statement of accounts or date of payment, whichever is earlier. You figure out the last day from this and then finally compare it with what the actual date of invoice, whichever is earlier. That becomes your time of supply. Is that very clear, my dear friends? Simple. Okay, very simple. Question 2, फटाफट से. Question 2, guys. Sneha Badurul Kesarla, I will understanding, I will following up. Ganga Gayatri. Yes, everyone following up, guys. Please keep commenting. Please keep commenting. Okay, please don't get confused with this stupid word consignment. This is nothing to do with your CA foundation. Okay, Consignment is simple, it's pack of goods. Understand? Consignment माने वही होता है कि बड़ा ऑर्डर है, this is a big order. Deepak, Amrita, Varshini, I would like to see you. Please switch on your videos or else I'll again have to put you in the waiting room. Varshini, Deepak, can you all hear me? Amrita Varshini, sorry, Varshini, Amrita Varshini. What does Varshini mean, Varshini? Okay, please give me your answers. Okay, here. Tell me one thing. The order is placed on 18th of August. Ram gets the consignment ready and informs the customer and issues the invoice on 2nd. The invoice is issued on 2nd December. The customer collects the consignment from the premises. So here the movement is done by the recipient actually, because he comes to collect the goods. Understand? On 7th of December. Okay. So understand that the removal date is 7th of December. Arey bhai, if he has collected, then I have removed, no? Understand? And electronically transfers the payment AO, which is entered in the books of account the next day, 8th December. Okay, what is the time of supply? 2nd or 7th, whichever is earlier.
Second.
Okay. Understand that date of payment will have no relevance in 12.2 except in case of continuous supply of goods. Otherwise, frankly, 12.2 does not focus on date of payment. It does not pay heed on date of payment. All you have to see is invoice or removal, invoice or delivery, invoice or वो 6 months वाला and date of approval. Simple. ठीक है? Done. That's it. Okay. Here I'll tell you the answer that they have mentioned is as per notification 66/2017 CT dated 15/11/2017. Nothing doing. It's completely fine if you don't write this. You just write it from simple. The time, how will you write the answer? Let's just figure out that. In this case, it is supply of goods where supplier will pay the taxes per FCM. Hence 12 subsection 2 shall apply, where the time of supply is date of issue of invoice or last date in case of movement of goods, that is date of removal, whichever is earlier. और दोनों के बाजू में डेट लिख देना, date of invoice or date of approval. Simple. Therefore time of supply is 2nd December. ठीक है? End it. Don't remember such things which are not relevant for you. You don't need to remember notification. ठीक है? I give you full authority in that. Don't take tension. Okay friends, done with that? ठीक. Next, 12 subsection 3, my dear friends, tell me. 12 subsection 3, reverse charge mechanism. Understand here what you are doing. What you are doing is, my dear friends, okay, is 12 subsection 3, reverse charge mechanism. Where are we, my dear friends? Reverse charge mechanism. And in reverse charge mechanism, who is liable to pay the tax? Supplier or recipient? Supplier or recipient? Recipient, my dear friends. Yes, who is liable to pay? Recipient. So the entire transaction, my dear friends, you will watch it from the end of recipient. Okay. So now tell me one thing, Rutuja, that in case of RCM, you will see the entire transaction from the eyes of the recipient. Now recipient receives goods or he supplies goods?
Receives good.
Correct. Which is why the first date is date of receipt of goods. Date of receipt of goods. Second, after you receiving goods, Rutuja, what will you do? You will just keep seeing the supplier.
No, I'll make payment.
You will make payment. Second date, date of payment. And third, you take it as is one date given from government, 31st day from the date of issue of invoice. Simple. So whatever the supplier has issued invoice to the recipient, take 31st day from that. Okay. Now this you have to remember, no logic behind this. This is basically why, you know why? Because if there is absence of date of receipt and date of payment, government can just take 31st day from DOI, because supplier has supplied goods, so he must have obviously issued invoice. So from there you will take 31st day as the date of issue of, as the time of supply. So government wanted to take that event, which is why they have inserted this. Okay. And these are the 3 dates with respect to 12/3. Is that very clear, my dear friends? Okay. First you receive goods, then you make payment, and then 31st day from date of issue of invoice. Understand, I'm trying to help you remember things. Understand that when you say 12/3, it is RCM. When it's RCM, you think it from the perspective of recipient. What does recipient do? He receives goods, then he makes payment 31st day. Simple. Got it? Done. Okay. Now in this, I want to comment on date of payment. Understand, if you are standing from the, if you are looking the entire transaction from the end of recipient, what does recipient do? He receives money or he pays money? He pays money. He pays money, Nisha. He pays money. Okay. So his bank account will be debited or credited? Debited. So there will be debit in the bank account. And understand, we are understanding this transaction bank's perspective. In the books of banks, it will be debited. Right? So, आज date of debit in the bank account, or date when there is payment entry in the books of accounts of recipient. What does this mean? What does this mean? Very simple. So when you must have done purchase, it would have been a credit purchase. Credit purchase का entry क्या होता है बेटा? Tell me. Purchase to creditors. Now finally you have made payment to the creditor, so you will pass entry creditor to. So this is the payment entry. This is the payment entry. So I would like you to write this down. In this case, यहाँ पे I have defined it here. So in this, give yourself a reference. That what do you mean by this? So date of payment entry in the books of accounts means that the recipient has passed the entry creditor to cash bank. And your date of debit in the bank account, write in Hindi, English, whatever you want to write. In Hindi you want to write, you write पैसा कटा बैंक अकाउंट से. In English, you want to write, my bank account is reduced on this date. It was 1 lakh initially, now it is 90,000. Okay? Make things easier for yourself. Understand it to the T. Okay, this is books of accounts, my dear friends. Don't tell me what is, sir, what is AC? You idiot. You are asking AC. I will ask you Pankha. Nonsense person asking me AC. What is AC? Arey yaar, commerce student, you don't know accounts is written this way? Okay. Crazy doubts. You understand, after the entire GST of 75 hours regular course, student, I asked student what is the full form of ITC? Sir, income tax credit, sir. That's such an easy question. Income tax credit. What is the, what? Naughty people. Okay. Yes. So that is it. Okay. Now I want you to solve and help me solve 2 important questions. Okay. फटाफट से आ जाओ. अच्छा, and if you do you all have Q&A with you all? If you all have it, then please understand, whenever I am doing a concept and switching to a Q&A, you are supposed to write that Q&A. Okay, you are supposed to give a reference to that Q&A, that this is what sir did. So it will help you. So here I want you to do 2 questions. One is third and one is fourth. First you will attempt fourth and then you will attempt third. Fourth करो पहले. Help me do the fourth question. Okay. So the date of receipt of good is July 5. The date of payment by the recipient of goods is, there are two dates available to you, right? This and this. And then you have 1st July, that is the date of issue of invoice. Okay. Invoice. Chalo. Tell me friends, in this case, आ जाओ फटाफट से. Tell me here which will be the dates that we will have. Tanishka, do we have date of receipt of goods? Check. These are the events here. We have events here. Okay. Do we have date of receipt of goods? We are aiming at question number 4.
Hello. Yeah, sir.
Yes.
So the date of payment will be earlier date.
July 5th. Which will be the date of payment?
June 28th.
June 28th. Absolutely. And which is this date?
Yeah.
Will we take June 1?
No.
Which one?
Because it is 12 subsection.
31 days from June 1. Perfect.
Yeah.
So which will be the 31st day? Tell me. Sir, I will take time to count.
1st July.
Okay, so understand. June has 30 days. We are already done with June 1. So now we have 29 days left. Right? But we have to count 30 days. No, we have to count 31 days. So it will be 2nd July. Okay? Got it? So the date that we require is 2nd July. So 2nd July, 20th June, July 5, it will be 28th June. Got it, guys? Right? अच्छा, how will you write it? Very simple. Date of receipt of goods, सामने correspondingly just write the date. Date of payment, define this. Date of debit in the bank account or date of payment entry, whichever is earlier. Write the date adjacent to that. Last, date of 31st day from DOI, write the date, whichever is earlier, time of supply, whatever it is. ठीक है? चलो. Now this is a googly question. This is a good question. I would really appreciate if someone can crack this. Okay. Here you have two payment dates. One is in advance and one is after the transaction gets over. So after the goods are received. Right? So if you will follow blindly, the format that I have given. Okay, and the format is very simple. Just focus on date of receipt of goods. Focus on date of payment. Sorry. Focus on 31st date. My bad. From DOI. And lastly, date of payment. Okay. Just write down the information that is given there in this format and you will get the answer. Also, I would like to know that will we have one time of supply here or two? Rutuja, where are you from?
Nagpur, Maharashtra.
Nagpur, yes. And Nisha, where are you from? Hyderabad? Mahabaleshwar? Jot it down. Chat section में लिखो यारा.
Can you please show the question?
Tamil.
So for the first one, 30th June.
Yeah, let's do it. What is the date of receipt of goods? Tell me, फटाफट.
1st July.
1st July. 31st डे कौन सा आएगा?
30th.
30
एक सेकेंड
ये
एक सेकेंड
लोचा
सर
हमारा
आप एक बार क्वेश्चन वापस बता सकते हो? मैंने लाइक जस्ट डेट्स लिखा.
जून 29 है वो, तो यस
हाँ,
दैट्स
June
करेक्ट,
29.
दैट्स 30th जुलाई.
राइट हाँ.
डेट ऑफ पेमेंट क्या आएगा?
30th जून है शायद.
सॉरी, डेट ऑफ पेमेंट इज 30th June and July 20.
या 30th जून.
Now understand,
सर जुलाई है ना, अगस्त नहीं है. 20.
sorry, my bad. Okay, understand that for this payment date also, the date of receipt of goods, अरे goods तो उसी दिन पे receive हुआ है ना, the goods have got received on the same day. Understand, the goods are received once only, the invoice is raised once only, but payment is done twice, one advance and once after the supply has been made. So for this date also, the date of receipt will be 17 only, and 31st day will also be the same only. So treat it as two different questions. यहाँ पे 30th जून आ जाएगा एंड दूसरा यहाँ पे क्या आ जाएगा?
1st जुलाई.
1st
जुलाई.
Is that very clear? Done. That's it, my dear friends. Okay, that's it. Did everyone understand this? Do you all realize there is a difference between question 3 and 4th? Can anyone tell me what is it? What is the difference between question 3 and question 4th? What difference did you think is it? Yes. Go ahead, Naina.
So in the third one there is part payment, that is although it is मतलब एक ही है वो, पर उसको दो हिस्सों में पे किया है वो.
कौन सा, थर्ड या फोर्थ?
थर्ड में payment is made in two parts, and for the fourth one payment is made in one, like एक साथ ही कर दिया ऐसे.
Yes. Understand one thing. In the fourth transaction, it is a one-shot payment, but the data that is given to you is of two different people recording at two different time. One is the bank and one is the recipient himself. So here you are given recording dates. The date when it is recorded in the passbook and when it is recorded in the cash book, understand, of the recipient. But in the third case, the payment is only done twice. So if the payment was 10 lakhs, 1 lakh for example is paid in advance and 9 lakhs is paid on, let's say क्या है, June 30. July 20. Got it? So 1 lakh must have been paid on June 30 and 9 lakhs would have been paid on, okay, July 20. Got it? So third or fourth में वो difference है. That is the difference in third and fourth. Okay? And understand, whenever there are two payments done, and it is 12/3, it will definitely have two time of supplies. Because among those two payment, one payment will always be advance, and in advance, obviously, if what is advance? Where the payment is made first and then everything follows. So that will be the time of supply, and in other case, 99% the date of receipt of goods only will be the time of supply. Got it? And in fourth, my dear friends, it's very simple. Payment is done at one shot. All you have to do is figure out, okay, which is the earlier date. To make things worse, what they can do is, you know what? How can they increase the length of the sum? So they will give you part payments. Okay, जैसे यहाँ पे है June 30, July 20. Got it? Now for June 30, they will give you two dates. One, the date of debit in the bank account. Okay, and second, payment entry in the books of accounts. Here also they will give you two dates. Debit in the bank account and second, payment entry in the books of accounts. So did you realize you actually You must have got confused because of the data. Hey, four entries, now which one will I pick up as the date of payment? Arre baba, what to do? Hata madhi satakli. You get it? No, you will not get paranoid. It's it's the simplest data that you can possibly find out. All you have to do is just rack a little brain of yours. That it's no rocket science. Got it? That's it. Done. Okay. So you can do question number 1 in this case for better understanding. Done. Next is 12 subsection 4, guys. Voucher. Now, understand one thing. In case of voucher, when the supply is identified, okay, I'll tell you something. Okay, listen, it's a very easier way to understand things. So, for example, okay, let's say for example that, okay, Drishti, okay, everyone clears in this attempt, but Drishti, after clearing, chooses Big Four, right? So she gets into Big Four, she gets into Deloitte, right? And in Deloitte, okay, if you go to Big Four, the best part about Big Four is that you see a lot of beautiful people around. They're very posh, sophisticated, and tip top, right? So now Drishti was doing her articleship, and now final C is after 3 years. So she explored her personal life, and that's where she figured out Dhruv, and Dhruv asked her on a date. Now what happens is that Dhruv, okay, issued a voucher. So he was supposed to give a gift to Drishti. He came to me and asked her what gift I should give. I said, listen, give her a voucher so that you have an excuse to go on another date, because then you have to redeem the voucher. So now the date of issue of voucher, my dear friends, okay, is 1/4, and the date of redemption is on 10/4. Now important thing is, my dear friends, which is the time of supply. So for that you need to ask me, sir, voucher kiska tha? Voucher was of what article? So I will say voucher was of bags. Okay, so the voucher was of a company called Baggett. Have you heard about Baggett, guys? Right? Yes, where they are exclusively into what? Bags. So hara, pila, neela, gila, there is, okay, these are all kinds of different bags. Okay, you will get all kinds of bags here. So you might not know which bag will get redeemed, but do you realize that any bag you redeem, the rate is 12% only? It can be of any color, but the rate will be 12%. So do you realize that in future what is going to get redeemed? So you are issuing voucher on 1/4, understand? But do you know on 1/10 what is going to be redeemed? Bag. Which bag doesn't matter. Bag. Are we aware about the rate of the bag? Yes. Rate though aware. Rate as in not the price, the rate of tax, the rate of GST. Okay, that we are aware because we know that bags are always subject to 12%. Simple. So now understand, if we take this as the time of supply, right? We have two dates, either issue of voucher, either redemption. Either of them will be the time of supply. Now if we take this date, understand one thing. Okay, if 1/4 is the time of supply, 20th/5 will be the due date. Now on the due date, you need value and you need rate. Acha, the voucher was of 10,000. So do you have value? Yes, 10,000. Acha, do you also have the rate? Yes, because you know what is going to be supplied in future. So government says pay the tax right away, because on the due date you have the clarity on both value and rate. So how do we conclude this? Very simple. Whenever the supply is identifiable at the time of issue of voucher. So am I aware at the time of issue of voucher what is going to get redeemed tomorrow? Yes, because my shop only exists on one article. So obviously that article will only be redeemed, and the article of that rate of tax is very clear, that is 12%. So do we know the value? Yes. Do we know the rate? Simple. Date of issue of voucher will be the time of supply. But let's say, for example, in another example, okay, let's say Tanishka goes on a date with Tanishk, and now since she has asked out for a date, she will make sure that she brings the gift, right? And she also pays the bill, because that's the simple rule. Whoever asks out on a date pays the bill. Okay? So now tell me, Tanishka is actually going to purchase a voucher. Now she goes to Lifestyle. She goes to Shop Stop. Do you get one product in Shop Stop? No. Varshini, Shop Stop is a place where you get a lot of articles. Okay. Apurupa, you get a lot of articles. Okay. So there is bag, and there is perfume, there are shoes, there are clothes. So does Shopper Stop know that what article will be redeemed in future? No. Because they have many articles. So do you realize that I will be able to get the clarity of the same? If I am Shopper Stop, I can get the clarity of the same when? On the date of issue or voucher, on the date of redemption. On the date of redemption. And which is why I will take this as the time of supply, because now I have clarity that garments were redeemed. Let's say there was a t-shirt, there was a top that she redeemed. And 20th of November will be the time of supply. Will I be having value? Yes. The voucher was of 10,000. Will I have the rate? Yes. So I will check the rate of garments. What is it? 12%. Yes. Simple. Got it? So when the supply is not identifiable at the time of issue of voucher, I will wait till the date it is identifiable, and that will exactly be on the date of redemption. And once I'm clear on the date of redemption, period, I will take that as the time of supply, and the very next month I will pay the tax. Is that very clear? So when it comes to 12.4, my dear friends, if the supply is identifiable, time of supply will be date of issue of voucher. If the supply is not identifiable, time of supply will be date of redemption. Do you get it, my dear friends? Do you get it? Apurupa, are you getting it? Are you following up? Yes, fair enough. Okay. Okay. For you it is, for us it is Shopper Stop. For all the people living in Tamil Nadu, it is Ramraj. Right? Ramraj. Big shop. Huge shop. Sorry, which one is that shop? मैं भूल गया यार. Big, these are big, malls out there. I forgot. Follow up. Sarvana Bhavan. Sarvana stores. They are huge, like big stores. Okay. Next is 12.5. Residual case. Frankly, this is to be taken very lightly. So basically it says that time of supply cannot be determined under 12.2, 12.3, 12.4. So if your time of supply is not determined under 12.2, 12.3 or 12.4, that will happen possibly in a case where you have not maintained any records. Right? Government says then in that case, if a person files return, date of filing return will be the time of supply. If not, if he does not even file return, then in that case date when tax is paid will be the time of supply. Okay. So for this, a real example as of now has never arisen. So we will just remember it the way it is. Okay, most of the time that is not asked in the exam, just remember it for the heck of it. Not that important. 12 subsection 6. Very simple. Interest late fee penalty for delayed payment of consideration. Have you heard this before? Where?
Well, subsection.
Value of supply 15 to D. Is that very clear? What did you say? 12 subsection 6? Okay, हाँ सर सुना ना, अभी सुना सर, अभी सुना. Okay, listen up. It is 15 2D, guys. Do you remember Varshini, Nisha, Ratuja? Yes? Okay. Fantastic. ठीक है. That's it. So the time of supply, my dear friends, is date of payment. Okay, that's it. So what does that mean? Very simple. Understand, I'll tell you something. That how does the scheme of transaction happen? I'll tell you something. For example, if supplier has told to the recipient that, listen, Mr. Recipient, I am supplying you goods right now, where the date of invoice, where the date of removal is 1/4, date of invoice is also 1/4, date of delivery is 2/4, and okay, the supply of goods is worth rupees 10 lakhs plus GST. Now understand one thing, that the contract says that if the payment is not received by 1/7, by 1/7, there will be a flat late fee of 10,000 that will be levied. Got it? Okay, we waited till 1/7, there was no payment. So on 2/7, what happened is, supplier issued to the recipient a debit note. What did he issue? A debit note. What was written in the debit note? Late fees. How much? 10,000. Will it be subject to GST? Hell yes. GST. Let's say 1,000. ठीक है? Okay, GST will be levied on this because of 15 2D, right? Because of 15 2D. ठीक है? सही है? Okay, fair enough. Now, finally on 1/10, payment was made. For both 11 lakhs plus GST. Okay, तो 10 लाख ऊपर का है वो, सॉरी 11 लाख नहीं, 10 lakh 10,000. Okay, the entire payment was made on 1/10. Okay, so let me take you through again. 1/4 को goods भेजे थे, removal, invoice, delivery. Did the payment was the payment received by 1/7? No. 2/7 debit note was issued. 1/10 payment was made. Okay, and this represents both the consideration part and the late fees that you have, that he was supposed to give you, right? Now I want to ask you two things. You need to tell me the time of supply for entire 10 lakh 10,000. What will happen? What will happen in that case? Tell me. Okay, the data that you need is here, and the value that I have mentioned is 10 lakh 10,000. For 10 lakh 10,000, tell me the time of supply will be what? You all can start writing in the chat box if you think you know it already. And yes, what do you think your tax is payable as per FCM or RCM? FCM, because understand, I have charged GST. Take note of these small things. It is FCM because I have charged GST. And when will I charge? Why will I charge? So that I can shift the burden, collect and then pay. Okay, so it is FCM. Okay, now fadawat say tell me what will happen. Will there be one time of supply? Will there be two time of supply? Your take completely, please. YouTube, Ganga Gayatri, Sneha, Kesarla, Badurul, please comment. Please comment. Please comment, guys. Kesarla, come on, Sneha, Ganga, Badurul, I want answers. Payment was done on 110. One, I just write it down. Got it, guys? Yes, done. फटाफट से आ जाओ. What do you think, Bala? What will happen?
Sir, time of supply will be 1/4, sir.
For the entire 10 lakh 10,000?
Is
Yes. Why? But 10,000 happens to be interest or late fee penalty, right?
yes, sir.
And we just learned that in case of interest, late fee penalty or delayed payment of consideration, that is governed by which section? 12.2 only? Or
12. Sorry, one
देख के बता बेटा. Check and let me know.
12/6, sir. 12/6.
What does 12.6 say? What is the time of supply for that component?
Date of payment, sir.
When is the date of payment? When are you getting the interest?
110. 110, sir.
110, right?
Yes, sir.
So how dare you say 1.4? Are you understanding?
Yes, sir. But the late fee component is only now, sir. But the-
Correct. So here you will split it into 10 lakhs and 10,000. 10 lakhs, which is the consideration part, and 10,000, which is the interest late fee penalty part.
For this, it will be 1/4, sir.
Right? तो consideration है, तो ये this will be covered under 12.2, this will be covered under 12.6. 12.2 में आ जाएगा date of invoice और last day to issue invoice in relation to moment of goods. whichever is earlier. Got it? तो वो क्या है 1/4 है, ये भी 1/4 ही है if I'm not wrong, right? So time of supply will be 1/4, and here the time of supply is date of payment. What is that?
110, sir.
Huh?
110.
110. Is this clear, guys? Everyone? Yes. So make sure anything like this pops up, you don't clearly target 10 lakh 10,000 together. Both represent different components, and you respect that. You respect that. Is that very clear, guys? Okay, please take a note of that. Very, very, very important. Okay, that's it. So we are done with, my dear friends, 12 subsection 6. Done. Okay. Now, okay, before we move ahead, section 12, फटाफट से tell me one thing. Okay, we have 12.2, 12.3, 12.4, 12.5, 12.6. Okay, फटाफट से, come on. 12.2 is FCM, right? What will happen? Tell me.
Date of invoice.
Date of invoice or
Last day.
last day to issue invoice, whichever is earlier. Moment of goods में last date क्या होता है? Date of removal. No moment में date of delivery. Goods sent on approval for sale or return में date of approval or 6 months from the date of removal, whichever is earlier. In case of continuous supply of goods, date of issuance of statement of account or date of payment, whichever is earlier. Next, 12.3 क्या है?
RCM.
RCM. Perfect. RCM में क्या आएगा? You look it from the perspective of recipient. So date of
Recipient.
receipt of goods. Then you do payment, date of payment, and then 31st day from the date of issue of invoice, whichever is earlier. Next, 12.4 is voucher. Okay, so date when goods are identifiable, what will happen?
Date of issue.
Correct. Date of issue of voucher. And date when the goods are not identifiable, वो उसमें क्या हो जाएगा? Date of redemption, whichever is earlier. 12.5 क्या हो जाएगा? Tell me.
Residual case.
Residual case where there is no 12.2, 12.3, 12.4. उस केस में क्या हो जाएगा, my dear friends? Tell me. If you are filing return, date of filing return. If you are not filing return, date of payment. And the last 12.6 is interest, late fee, penalty. Simple. Date of payment. Got it? Simple. That's it, my dear friends. That's section 12 for you. Okay. Section 13. The best part about this is, in this case, okay, the good news to you is that you are supposed to only do 13.2 and 13.3. Sir, why? Because 13.4, 13.5, 36 is mutatis mutandis. Shame to shame. 12.4, 12.5, 12.6. What is that? Voucher goods, यहाँ पे service. Residual case goods, residual case service. Interest, late fee, penalty on delayed payment of consideration for supply of goods, supply of service. So 3 sections, all the 3 sections have disappeared. You are supposed to be only and only looking forward to 13.2, 13.3 period. Got it? Simple. Now 13.2, tell me, which situation will it apply to? FCM or RCM? Simple logic. FCM. 12.2 FCM, 13.2 FCM, 13.3 FCM, 12.3 FCM, 12.3 RCM, 13.3 RCM. Is that very clear? Perfect. Okay. What is 13.2, my dear friends? Tell me. What is 13.2? Very simple. 13.2 says that, listen, when a supplier provides service to recipient, when a supplier provides service to a recipient, there are 3 occasions. One is date of supply of service. Second, date of issue of invoice. Third, date of payment. Got it? First is date of supply of service, date of issue of invoice, and date of payment, whichever is earlier. Is that very clear, guys? Okay. Now understand which date is important. Is it the date when I have completed the service? Is it the date when I have issued the invoice, or is it the date when I have made the payment? right? Which is the date which is important. For that, government has said, listen, you take one parameter. What is that parameter? That if the invoice is issued at the right time, then you will compare two dates, date of invoice or date of payment, whichever is earlier. Date of invoice or date of payment, whichever is earlier. But my dear friends, if the invoice is not issued at the right time, then in that case, date of supply of service or date of invoice, whichever is earlier. Is that very clear? Date of supply of service or date of payment, whichever is earlier. So in both the cases, what will happen is, you will always have to compare date of payment, either with invoice ka date or date of supply of service or date of completion of service ka date. So this date is definitely getting compared. But with whom? DOI or DOS? DOI or DOS. So that depends. If invoice is issued at the right time, date of invoice. If invoice is not issued at the right time, date of supply. Did you get it? Now important part is, what is the right time to issue invoice? What is the right time? Simple. So if the invoice is issued within 30 days from the date of supply of service, completion of service, whatever you want to tell, doesn't matter. Okay, then DOI or DOP, whichever is earlier. DOI or DOP, whichever is earlier. But if invoice is issued after 30 days, then date of supply of service or date of payment, whichever is earlier. Is that very clear? Apurupa? If you issue invoice within 30 days, invoice or payment, whichever is earlier. If you issue invoice after 30 days, we will not wait for the date of invoice and we will directly take date of completion of service, date of supply of service or date of payment, whichever is earlier. Is that very clear? Clear है, proper है, सही है, done है. Okay. Now, in case of banks, NBFCs, insurance companies, this is 45 days instead of 30 days. So just jot it down. यहाँ पे just jot it down. Okay. You can just jot it down here somewhere. That instead of 30 days, it will be 45 days. Banks, NBFCs, insurance companies. Okay, done. That's it. ठीक है. Now that we're done with that, my dear friends. Okay, I hope this is very clear. Okay, this is date of provision of service. Provision. This is date of provision of service. Okay, understand one thing. In any time, if you see something like date of provision of service, date of supply of service, date of completion of service, all these nomenclature remain the same and they mean the same, which means service is completed. Simple. Service has been provided. Done. Date of provision of service, date of supply of service, date of completion of service, they all mean the same. મિત્તલ ગાંક હો ગઈ તું બેટા, ક્યાં છો મિત્તલ બેન? ठीक है, अच्छा. Now again, do you realize we have date of payment here? So date of payment has relevance here, and here we are doing normal charge or forward charge, whatever you call it, one and the same, right? So whenever there is date of payment, you will always have to give clarity with respect to these two dates. Now understand, you are perceiving the transaction here from the end of supplier, because supplier is paying tax because it's an FCM wala situation, right? Here supplier, tell me, supplier receives the payment or he makes the payment? He receives the payment. So which is why there is credit in the bank account or payment entry in the books of accounts of supplier. Now you might think, yes, sir, what is payment entry in the books of supplier? Supplier receives payment, he does not make payment, right? So here the payment entry means, the payment that he has received from the debtor. That means here, when his accountant must have passed cash bank to debtors wala entry. Got it? Payment entry means what? That he has not made payment, he has received payment. Cash bank to debtors wala entry when his accountant makes. Is that date the date of payment, or when, okay, he looks at the message that your Axis Bank is credited by this much amount? Got it? That's it. Whichever is earlier, as usual, whichever is earlier. Okay, that's it. इसका फटाफट से एक छोटा सा Q&A करवा दो यार. मैं करवाता हूँ एक सेकंड. Done. Okay, next. Time of supply in case where excess amount is up to 1000. What will happen in this case? Okay. The time of supply will be considered date of issue of invoice. Now what is this basically? Very simple actually, listen. So what happens generally? Okay. Tell me one thing, for example, I just want to, before going on to that concept, okay, I just want to check this whether you are comfortable with this or not. What will be the time of supply here? This is date of completion of service, date of invoice, date of payment. What will be the time of supply? And you will be comparing which two dates? Chat box में लिखो फटाफट. स्नेहा, बदरुल, रतिका, गंगा, please reply. Yes. Okay, is the invoice raised within 30 days? Yes, 15/4. Compare it with 30th/4, whichever is earlier, 15/4. Okay, simple. What if I tell you that 1/4 is the completion? One five, 30th/4 again. Is the invoice raised within 30 days? Nikita?
No, sir, it's not. It's raised within 30 days.
What do you think? What is the cutoff date? जिसके पहले रेज हो जाना चाहिए था.
30th April.
Okay, why is that so?
So it should be raised within 30 days of providing of services. So
Yes. So always remember, you will count from the next day. Big mistake that people do and ignore how a simple counting of days is done. They don't focus on this and they just assume things and land up making mistakes. Whenever you are counting days, you count from the next day. So here 1/4 से 30 days count करना है. So you don't count 1/4, you count from the next day. So understand that if you have April and 1/4 is there, you have excluded 1/4. Now you only have 29 days. Because you are counting from the next day. You are not counting 1/4. You are not including that day. You are counting from the next day. So that means, will you include 1/4? No. So out of 30 days, has one day gone? Yes, you have 29, but you need to have 30. So we will go to the next month and that will be 1/5. So it's exactly raised within the time limit. Had it been, I would have said 2/5. Then we will not take this date, we will take this and this, whichever is earlier, 1/4. Is that very clear, my dear friends? Clear hai? Okay, this has to be very clear. Okay. Tanishka, tell me, for example, if this is 1/7, okay, and this is 31/7, have I raised invoice within the time limit? What will be the time limit? What will I compare the date of payment with?
30th July.
30?
30th July will be 30 days from date of invoice.
No, which date will you take? 1/7 or 31/7? And has the invoice raised within 30 days?
The invoice is not in the given time. It is not issued. So
Why? Why do you think so? What did I tell you? 1/7 है, 1/7. Count from the next day. So July में कितने दिन होते हैं? How many days are there in July?
31.
Okay. So you exclude 1. Right? So when does the 30th day fall? In July or August?
August.
कैसे?
So 31st July minus 1 of the first.
Minus 1.
So 30th July.
30th July? 1st July?
Sorry, last day 31st July.
हाँ, क्या कर रही है?
I told you no 31st July and then the date of payment.
Okay, I heard it 30th July, sorry. It's 31st July, simple. You've excluded 1 and then you're counting 30 days. That 30 days happen to be in that month itself, simple. So it's 31st July and it's bang on time. So 31st or 1/8, whichever is earlier. Got it? Please make sure that you are very clear on this. Silly mistakes can, make you lose 3 or 4 marks and you are done. And you know that there are times where you need that you are on 37, you are on 57, you are on 197. In fact, I have at CA final, I have been on 198. And there is not a single exemption in the paper. 59, 58, वैसा. Give that all together again. And forget about that. There was this chapter called amalgamation, where you had 100 questions. I had solved in the module and I had solved all 99 of them, and that one question that I was supposed to solve, I thought that chalo theek hai, it's a difficult sum, I will solve tomorrow. I will solve tomorrow, or I will solve day after. And then finally, the day of exam came. The first 15 minutes, the first question that I see is that question number 100th. That's where you lose confidence. And it is of 16 marks. And my total in that attempt was 184. What should I say? Should I scream? Should I shout? Should I yell? Or should I just take a dip in the ocean? Alright, such things happen. ICA just somehow knows that yaar, Karan ne ye choda hai yaar. Karan has left this. Ask him that. And this has happened. That universe has just conspired things in a way where crazy coincidences, right? I'll tell you one more. So in ISCA there was a calculation, and that calculation that we used to, ISCA was one of the most difficult subjects because we never understood what it is, just like IT and a notch higher, right? So there was this simple math that we used to do. Okay, whatever is asked in the previous question paper will not be repeated in the next question paper. So anything asked in May 23 will not be asked in November 23. Simple math. So at least those 15-16 questions we used to exclude, thinking that chalo ye to nahi padna hai kam se kam. We will not read this much at least, right? You won't believe that 50% of paper had the same questions that were asked in the very previous attempt. And I am like, what the hell? What the hell? Why on earth is this with me? Why? Why on earth? You know that frustration, that anger? But I'll tell you something, that this is where miracles happen. That the other 50 marks of the paper, I wrote it very diligently. I knew it. I attempted only for 60 marks, understand? Somehow I tried to recollecting the other points and I wrote 65 marks ka paper and I secured 49, right? So some things happen. Yeah. Okay. Okay, now listen. What is that 1000 wala part which generally most of them land up leaving? By the way, and it can be asked in the MCQ, I feel. What is that 1000 wala? So this generally happens in telecom industry. Now what is it? Tell me. What happens in telecom industry? Very simple. I'll tell you. So understand, it is the month of April. So okay, the date of completion of service is on 30th April. So from 1st April to 30th April, I have availed telecom services from Vodafone. Invoice is raised on 2nd May and payment I have done on 10th May. Okay, now understand, invoice was raised for 990 rupees. But I landed up paying, well, invoice was raised for 480 rupees and I landed up paying 500. Do you realize I have paid in excess? How much? 20, which is up to 1000. So I have not paid in excess more than 1000, right? I have paid in excess 20, which is less than 1000. So we are within the limit. Now understand, how will the time of supply be figured out here? Very simple. So whatever is the invoice date, okay. So 480 here will be taken into consideration. What is the date of completion for 480? 30th April. Date of invoice 2nd May. Date of payment 10th May. Time of supply 2nd May. Within 30 days, invoice or payment, whichever is earlier. Make sense? So for 480, that is the truth, right? Now what about that extra 20 rupees, sir? Then listen, understand. This 20 rupees will be adjusted in the next month. अरे yes or no? या बंद कर दूंगा मैं सीधा, एक महीना यूज करके आई विल क्लोज इट डाउन, ऐसा नहीं है. ओके, सो लेट्स कंसिडर द मंथ ऑफ मे नाउ. Date of completion of service will be 31st May. Date of invoice again 2nd June. Date of payment 10th June. Acha, the invoice this time was for let's say 100 rupees. But I landed up paying only how much? 80. Does that make sense? Does that add up? Because I had paid 20 in extra. Nisha, I had paid 20 extra here. Invoice was 480, paid 500, 20 extra. That is exactly the 20 amount that I have not paid here. Okay, now understand. 100 rupees. We will divide it into 2, 80 and 20. Because that advance of 20 is related to May period, not April. It's for May. Right? So here, what will be the date of completion? 30th May, 31st May. Date of invoice 2nd June. Date of payment 10th June. Right? Date of completion of service 31st May. Date of invoice 2nd June. Date of payment 10th May. 10th May. ऊपर. Yes or no? So you understand one thing. For the next period, this was actually an advance. So here the time of supply will be 10.5. Here the time of supply will be 2.6. Right? Understand that for 10 rupees, I have calculated so much. I've had to calculate 2 time of supplies, understand what is the invoice, payment, supply, all of that. Understand for 10 rupees. It can be for 50 paisa also and 1 rupees also. And this can be multiplied with crores of subscribers who land up paying extra amount. Do you realize that that telecom company will actually have to set up a team of chartered accountants or design an AI that takes care of these calculations, which is not great. So to reduce their compliance, government said, listen, nothing doing. Whenever you have made such excess payments, we will never do this calculation. Though here the invoice was of, understand, 100, where payment of this invoice was made earlier. So for that 20 rupees, we will not compare invoice or payment whichever is earlier. We will not compare it this way. We will directly take date of invoice as the time of supply. Got it? So we will take 100 rupees, which is obviously 80 and 20. We will take 2.6 only as the time of supply. We will not compare it with 10.5. So this reduces our compliance. How? Because we know that this payment is for the next month. Consider the time of supply for that entire 100 in the next month itself. Don't compare it with the payment. Simple. So whenever I've raised the invoice, that is the time of supply. I've raised the invoice, that is the time of supply. Irrespective of whether I have made the payment now or before, doesn't matter. So this calculation directly goes off the entire 100 rupees. I will compare it with this. Simple. So always remember, whenever they ask you or make a situation where they have made excess payment, and check that excess payment is up to 1000. So here it was 20, which is up to 1000, right? The time of supply, okay, at the option of the supplier can be date of invoice only. And this is which invoice? Invoice of the next period. Got it? Because that payment was made in April, but that was made in the context of May, yaar. Got it? That's it. Okay. 13.3 is fairly very easy reverse charge mechanism. Again, here you look at the entire transaction from the end of recipient, right? Okay. Varshini, switch on the video. Varshini, switch on the video. Otherwise, I will leave the class. But I will enter as soon as you switch on the video. Yes. Yes. Now, can you tell that this is date of receipt of service? That as soon as I enter the class, you have received the service? No, you cannot. Because you can receive goods, because you can track goods, because goods are tangible. You can see them. You can touch them and you can see them. So that is why you have date of receipt of goods in 12.3. Because you can exactly track, this is the day when you have received goods. But can you say there is date of receipt of service? No. Can you say this is the time service is entered? No. Because service cannot be tracked. Service can only be felt. आप सर्विस देख नहीं सकते, आप सर्विस महसूस कर सकते. You can feel it, you cannot track it. And which is why the entire concept of date of receipt of service, which there was goods, here it could have been service. This entire concept is taken, removed, because this date can be very ambiguous in nature, because you cannot see when the service has been received. You cannot determine that date, right? Because someone will say I received it when the service started. Someone will say I received when the service got completed. So government did not want to get in that space, which is why government said I'll take off that date and I directly jump to you've received it, you felt it, now make the payment. So date of payment or 61st day, whichever is earlier. Okay. तो वहां पे 31 था, यहाँ पे 61 है. 31, 61, 31, 61. Got it, Nisha? Okay. So in 12.3 you have date of receipt of goods. After receipt you will make the payment 31st day. In 13.3 you have only date of payment or 61 day, whichever is earlier. Simple. And date of payment, obviously either it is date of debit in the bank account or date of payment entry in the books of account or recipient, whichever is earlier. Which is why I have written this in the middle. ये सेम है कि नहीं? सेम है, ठीक है. And the last is, my dear friends, proviso to section 13.3. Proviso to section 13.3, that is exception to the section. Exception to the section, exception to 13.3. 13.3 focuses on RCM wale cases. So here understand, there is a case of RCM. Why? There is a case of RCM. Why? Because supplier is outside India, recipient is in India. Supplier is outside India, recipient is in India. So there is import of service and the tax will be paid by recipient. There will be RCM. But sir, import of service, we never did RCM. In 9.3 we never did cases of RCM with respect to import of service. Yes, you didn't. Because import of service पे क्या लगता है? CGST or IGST? IGST. We did that in Article 269A. And which is why it is covered under IGST Act, not 9.3 but 5.3. Because the charging section of IGST is section 5. So that will be done in CA final. Okay. So understand that here RCM will apply, recipient will pay the tax. But here understand that though there is RCM, you will not go with the general provision of 13.3. You will follow the proviso, especially if supplier is outside India, recipient is in India, and both share a relationship of associated enterprise. Classic example of that is holding company and subsidiary company. Okay, holding company and subsidiary company. So you check if all these conditions are satisfied, then in that case you will take into account the time of supply as the date of debit entry in the books of accounts of the recipient or date of payment, whichever is earlier. Mind you, this is date of debit entry in the books of accounts, and ऊपर है date of debit in the bank account. Date of debit in the bank account is money has gone from the bank. Bank balance was 1 lakh, now it is 90,000. Okay, date of debit entry in the books of accounts of recipient. Understand, for a recipient, any transaction is an expense or income. It's an expense or income. Let's say if I am doing this crash course for 5,000 rupees, I am the supplier, you are the recipient. For you, this transaction is expense or income?
Expenses.
Income.
Expense.
Arey, I am the supplier. It is an expense for you, right? Always for a recipient, it is an expense because you spend that money to either procure goods or either to procure service. Correct? Tanishka? Huh. So what is the entry that you pass for expense? It's either expense to creditor or cash bank, correct? Do you realize you've debited the expense? This is exactly the entry that they have passed here. Got it? Expense to creditor or cash bank, whatever. That is the payment. That is the debit entry in the books of accounts. Debit entry in the books of accounts where you are debiting something. Got it? And you will debit because you are a bloody recipient. Okay. Or date of payment, whichever is earlier. The best part about this proviso is that both of dates will be given to you in the question itself. For example, question 16, tell me what is the time of supply and tell me whether 13.3 will apply or proviso for 13.3 will apply. बताओ भाई. Yes, proviso to 13.3 because supplier is outside India, recipient is in India, and there is holding subsidiary relationship because Kothari holds 51% of the shares in Wilson. Okay. Now tell me what will happen here. Which is the date that you will take? Bala, Nisha, Apurupa, Varshini. Simple. Date of debit in the books of accounts 30th September or date of which payment is made by the recipient, that is Kothari, 23rd December. So it will be 30th September.
30th September.
Perfect. Is that very clear? As easy as this. Okay. Done. Done. We are done with time of supply. We are done with time of supply, friends. Okay. Okay. So there we go with time of supply. We are done with it. Achha, I'll tell you what kind of amazing permutation combination they can ask. Understand? Time of supply, if they want to make the paper difficult, or I would say tricky, or I would say a notch higher, lengthy, they will always club this with either RCM wala chapter or supply chapter. So what will they do? First they will give you a situation and they will ask, first tell me who is liable to pay the tax. So you figure out if it's 9.1 or 9.3. If it's 9.3, Then you figure out whether it's goods or service. 99% it will be service, right? So if it is service, you got to know that first you will give the explanation that who will pay the tax. तो 13(3) के हिसाब से, oh sorry, 9(3) के हिसाब से recipient will pay the tax. You conclude that first, and then you will say that since this is supply of service and recipient pays tax, 13(3) shall apply, and according to 13(3) the time of supply is date of payment or 61 days from the invoice, whichever is earlier. Did you get it? So they can club this with this. Very simple, very simple. Or they can club this with supply, right? So in supply, there is a concept of 7(1)(a), which we will do, which talks about classification of goods or service. Okay. So there are these list of situations which are given to you. Okay, where opposite to that, you will comment that whether this is a supply of goods or supply of service. So first to determine what is it, supply of goods or service. Once you determine that, very simple, you know whether it's 12(2) or 13(2) or 12(3) or 13(3), depending on whether the situation is FCM or RCM. Got it? That's how they can play with. Got it? So I have given both the instances. RCM wala instance also I have given and supply wala instance I have also given in the Q&A. In the Q&A, I will suggest, my dear friends, that you refrain from doing question 17. You will not understand it unless you know supply, right? So you avoid this question right now. When we will do supply, that's where we will possibly understand and will be able to target this. It's a good question. I've actually taken it from final CA, but very much applicable to you. It can easily be asked. Nothing rocket science in that. Okay. And something like this. Yes. Something like this. November 19. Right. So here they have not asked you, but to come to the conclusion, you will have to figure out. Understand, they have not asked you who will pay the tax, but to determine time of supply, you will have to jot down in the question that is it the case of FCM or RCM. Tell me, which section will apply here with respect to time of supply? Section 14.
RCM.
RCM, अरे ऑथर पब्लिशर है ना भाई, कॉपीराइट वाला, याद है कि नहीं? पब्लिशर है अनेक, ऑथर है एक. देयर आर लॉट ऑफ पब्लिशर्स, सॉरी, देयर आर लॉट ऑफ ऑथर्स who give their copyright to one publisher. So it is RC. Bala, did you recollect? And which is why which section will apply? 13(2) or 13(3)? 13(3). Okay. अच्छा, इसमें क्या होगा बताओ? क्वेश्चन 12, who will pay the tax and time of supply क्या होगा बताओ फटाफट से, tell me fast. Yes Neha, yes Ganga, yes, absolutely, you're correct. Very happy to see that. Very happy Ganga. स्नेहा एमडी, प्लीज आप भी बताइए. स्नेहा एमडी. ठीक है, टेल मी क्या ठीक है क्या? हाँ, who will pay tax? Newton credits, yes. NBFC RCM will apply as per 9(3), right? And again 13(3) will apply. ठीक है, got it? So such questions can be asked. I'm just helping you prepare. And this, I really want you to solve this one. This will be a tricky one. Question 7, try for yourself, rack your brains. You will certainly figure out what will happen. Check for yourself what will happen. This is statement of accounts. Okay, what I will ask you is, in question 7, you can just follow this format. Just check what is the check the period for which, okay, the invoice is issued, sorry, the payment is made, the statement of accounts is issued, and compare it with so with this you will figure out the last date, and then you compare it with this, and that's where time of supply happens. Now the best part is, date of issue of invoice is not given there only. So we have assumed that DOI and DOP are on the same date. That is assumed by ICI. So just write the assumption there, that date of issue of invoice is on the date of payment. Now see if you can solve the sum. This is a homework, figure out yourself. If not, I will suggest you tomorrow. ठीक है, डन है, ओके, फटाफट से again let's wrap up time of supply, section 12 and section 13. Tell me guys, फटाफट से, section 12, 12.2, 12.3, 12.4, 12.5, 12.6, 13.2, 13.3, 13.4, 13.5, 13.6, right? 12.2, what is 12.2? Normal charge, forward charge. Okay, here we see the transaction from the end of the supply. Two dates, date of invoice or last day to issue invoice, whichever is earlier. Simple. Last day to issue invoice, movement of goods, date of removal, date of no movement of goods, date of delivery, goods sent on approval for sale or return, date of approval or 6 months from the date of removal, whichever is earlier, continuous supply of goods, date of issuance of statement of accounts or date of payment, whichever is earlier. Second, 12.3, RCM, look at from the recipient's perspective, date of receipt of goods, date of payment, and 31st day from the date of issue of invoice, whichever is earlier. 12.4, voucher, if the voucher is if the supply is identifiable at the time of issue of voucher, time of supply will be date of correct issue of voucher. If it is not identifiable, date of redemption of voucher. 12.5, residual case, if your time of supply does not arise between 12.2, 12.3, 12.4, simple, the time of supply will be date of filing return in case return is filed. In case even return is not filed, date of payment of tax will be the time of supply. 12.6, interest, late fee, penalty on delayed payment of consideration, the time of supply will be date of payment. What does that mean? What does that mean? If the payment is done, time of supply will trigger. If there is no payment done, there will be no time of supply, and hence I will also not land up paying tax. Understand? Understand that with respect to interest, late fee, penalty, if it is my bad date, it is also government's bad date. Because if there is no date of payment, I have never affixed a date. And if I have not affixed a date, how can I affix a due date? So I will not pay tax if I don't get interest, late fee, penalty. Got it? That's it. Next. Time of supply. with respect to supply of service. 13.2, 13.3, 13.2 FCM, 13.3 RCM, 13.2, two cases. If the invoice is issued within 30 days from the date of completion of service, invoice or payment, whichever is earlier. But it is issued after 30 days, then date of completion of service or date of payment, whichever is earlier. For bank, insurance and NBFCs, the date is 30 days, no, 45 days. And if I happen to make excess payment, but if that excess payment is up to 1000, I at my option can take time of supply not as DOI or DOP, whichever is earlier. I can only take it as DOI of the next tax period. Next, 13.3 normal provision RCM, date of payment or 61 days from the date of invoice, whichever is earlier. Proviso, if the supplier is in outside India, recipient is in India, so there is import of service, there is RCM, and both are associated enterprise, any holding and subsidiary company. Then that case, date of debit in the books of accounts, not bank account, books of accounts, or date of payment, whichever is earlier. That's it. We end time of supply here. Okay. Frankly, मैंने आपको है ना काफी डिटेल में पढ़ाया ये, इसीलिए we took time. But I wanted to complete it for once and for all. So there are no doubts. Actually, the target was कि दोनों ही complete हो जाए. Time of supply, because time of supply, frankly, so what happens is that when I will take marathon lecture, you will realize that I am done with. So the only thing that I teach in revision is what I said in the last 5 minutes. That's the only thing I teach generally. That is revision actually. That is revision. And that's fine. The entire agenda, frankly, for this entire initiative that I have taken is to clear your concepts, so we don't fail the next time, right? And that's the objective, which is why I also help you with Q&A. Understand, this is actually the lecture that I take. I actually take 2.5-3 hours for time of supply in my regular batch, and that's exactly what I've taken. मैंने नाम इसका मैंने रिवीजन दिया है, पर ये डिटेल ही है एक्चुअली. Okay, so fair enough. It will make sense only when it is beneficial to you. I don't want to do it just for the heck of it. But the next time when you revise, which will be in the month of October, this is exactly what I will speak when time of supply happens. Simple. And this is exactly what your mind should recollect when you are listening to me that time. That's it. In fact, the best part is that every time you want to do revision, I will have a timestamp in the YouTube video. Just check my timestamps. Usme last is quick recap. Just go on that and do that quick recap, and you are done with that. Simple. So if you are traveling in train, something or the other, just switch on to that and you are done with the entire revision. Okay, because on the last day of the exam, I'm not explaining the sum. I'm not explaining you why this happened, what this happened. I'm not giving you any logics. Straight to the point. Period. Shoot it. You should just be able to recollect the provision. Okay? And that's it. We have done it. आधे पेज में ही खत्म हो गया है. We have done it in half page itself. And that's it. Every aspect of time of supply is covered there. Okay, you can check it. Check for yourself. It has all the questions of module and past year papers and RTPs. So there is exhaustive practice also. Did you all solve all the value of supply questions? Yes. And if possible, also jot it down. Just jot it down. Also today, time of supply, read it once and then jot down all the sections. That will help you remember, and it will not take more than half an hour for you to revise time of supply. It should not. Fair enough? So please do that. It's fine. We will take one more day extra because I don't think we will be able to do composition scheme now, because वहाँ पे भी क्या होगा, I will explain things. right? I don't want to rush in, right? I want you to understand each aspect so that you remember that logic. If you remember the logic, you remember the provision. Understand? You will automatically come down to a conclusion that this is not what will happen, this is how it will happen. So ठीक है, एक आध दिन ज़्यादा जाएगा. We will take one more day extra, but we will finish it off properly. Okay? So do the Q&A of time of supply, wrap it up before 12 and end it. ठीक है? And also when you come for the lecture the next day, wake up not just on time, 15 minutes, half an hour before the time, and give yourself time. Before the lecture starts and before I take vivas, just go through those provisions 15 minutes, because it's all in 1 page or 2 page or 3 pages maximum. You can easily rush it through, right? So do it that, okay? Because our target is to complete before 2nd August, and it will happen that way. Don't worry, because there will be few chapters where we will be finishing a couple of chapters in 1 day itself. So don't worry. That is our target and we will stick to it. Okay? And if we have to extend before that, we will also extend it. And I will tell you that in advance. That here, okay, this is how we will wrap up, and we need to take out some time. So make sure you have it for yourself. Okay? That's it, guys. And yeah, before we leave, just a small story that I can recollect, on belief system, right? How important it is to just keep believing in yourself. And sometimes that entire belief system can restructure the thoughts, and your brain can just rewire yourself, and you can take actions in according to your belief system. So what happened is that when World War II was happening, there was this experiment that was conducted in America by a few scientists. So obviously, I hope you know that America bombed on the Japanese, and they were also part of World War II, and there were a few Japanese soldiers that fell into the American trap, and they were given the punishment of hangtail death. Now, the scientists of America said to the judge, they requested the judge that since you have already punished them a death penalty, why not help them, help their existence, help the humanity? The judge asked how? How will the humanity be of help if you have them? Then the scientist said that, listen, we will give them death, but we want to experiment this, whether it happens or not. If it happens, great. We will actually come up with a great conclusion. If it doesn't, we will go and, hanging up. You can hang them up. Okay. So now, what happened is, these scientists took this guy to a new place. They whispered in his ears that just look at this experiment that is happening in front of you. And what happened was that as soon as this snake was released, the snake, had bitten a rat, and the rat died there and there itself. The scientist whispered that this is exactly how you will die. In a fraction of a second, once the snake bites you, the poison is so strong that you will die as soon as it bites you, and you will die on the spot there and there itself. So the guy said, okay, fine. Will it hurt? The scientist said, no, it won't. Now that guy is blindfolded, and there is a little change, right? Little tweak in the experiment. Instead of throwing away the snake, they throw a rat towards that snake, towards that man who's given the punishment. So instead of snake, it is the rat. And the rat bites that person. And in spite of that, that man dies there and there itself. Do you think a rat's bite can take you to death? No. आपको भी काटा होगा, मुझे भी काटा, but I'm alive. Then why did he die? Because the message went to his brain. that the animal that has bitten me is not the snake, it's not the rat, it's the snake. It's the snake's bite. He convinced himself so much because he had a visual. He had a visual of snake biting and the other animal dying, and he had a visual that that's the same thing that will happen to you. So he started believing that this is how exactly things happen to me when the snake bites. And as soon as he was whispered that the snake, has bitten you, and he felt it, and he died. And after the post-mortem report, do you know what was the most exciting part? That the poison that was discovered was exactly how a poison is, analyzed when a snake bites a human. Whereas the fact was that did the snake bite that person? No, it was the rat. This is how the magnanimity of belief system works. So if you believe that you will fail, you will indeed fail. But if you have the conviction to pass, you will pass, because your brain will rewire your actions in such a way that now you will not procrastinate. Now you will not be lazy. Now you will not press that snooze button. You will wake up on time. You will find, and I'll tell you something, you will find teachers that will help you pass. The universe will help you with all the help that is required to help you pass. And looks like you all have had your belief system in the right place, which is why you're sitting in this lecture. Such a narcissist person. Okay, so that's it, guys. That's all for today, and that's what the moral of the story is. Keep your belief system strong. Not a moment of thought should come in your mind that you will not clear in this attempt. You will clear. You goddamn have that in you that you can clear it, right? And anytime you feel any doubt about it, just give me a call, and I will tell you why you deserve to pass. Fair enough? So start believing it from today. Start manifesting it. I've given you that, snapshot of the result. Write your marks. Believe every day that you will be able to do it, and indeed it will happen. और दिल से सोचो ऐसे, दिल से कि हाँ मैं पास हो चुका हूँ. I have. Simple. Okay, that's it. We will wrap up this day, my dear friends, and yeah, hope you had a good time. But I wish you a very good morning and have a nice day, and don't fail to comment. I love you, Bala. I love you, Bala. I'm in love with you. You've been commenting on each lecture. Thanks a lot for that. Okay. Please, Tanishka, Nikita, Drishti, Naina, means a lot. Means a hell of a world to me. Spare some time out. हाँ, अरे तो हर लेक्चर पे एक बार कमेंट कर लिया करो यार, तुम लोग, अच्छा लगेगा. आई नो दृष्टि, आई सॉ योर कमेंट. नैना तेरा भी देखा मैंने. सुबह आने के पहले कर दे यार, हो जाएगा, क्या दिक्कत.
मैं करती हूँ सुबह आने के पहले, वो रिकैप सुन लेती हूँ ना मैं.
हाँ, मैं भेज दिया करूंगा, तो आपको क्या है, लिंक देखने की भी जरूरत नहीं है, मैं कर दूंगा. प्लीज. ओके, थैंक्स अ लॉट गाइस. थैंक्स. हैव अ नाइस डे.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thanks a lot, Dhaval. Thanks a lot, Sneha, Manasa. Sir, Trust India Limited problem in study mat. Please explain. Okay, I didn't get that. DM me on my WhatsApp number, Manasa. I will help you out on that. Okay, that's it. K. Sarla. I hope you all understood. I hope you understood, Ganga. I hope you had a good session. Thanks a lot, Badurul, for commenting. Please comment and please subscribe, guys. Please, please, please. Means a hell of a world to me. Thank you.